Hi, welcome back to Ucanic. Today we're going to talk about your alternator, how it works, the components in the alternator, and then we're going to go over how to test one with the Ucanic Volt Check Pro. So we'll get started. So we're going to take this alternator that was taken off of a 1991 Jeep. Now this Jeep was replaced because it was noisy. You can hear it, bearing noise, and it actually gets so hard to turn that it actually seized up and threw the belt off of it. Now, when the belt came off, we didn't just have no charging because there was no alternator. We also lost our power steering and the water pump wasn't being driven. So that belt coming off caused a lot of problems. That could have all been prevented if the alternator was replaced when the alternator started making noise. So the bearing that failed is right here in the rear of the alternator. This rear bearing is supposed to be sealed and it's supposed to be loaded with these little ball bearings in here that help it rotate. Now you can see that most of those are missing and the seal is gone. That bearing was supposed to look like this. This is a sealed bearing. All right, that rubber seal encapsulates it, keeps all the dirt and debris out. This is what it looks like without the seal. You can see the rollers in there and the cage that keeps them together. It's permanently lubricated and sealed. Now the seal popped off because it overheated and likely caused the grease to melt out and then all those little ball bearings to pop out with it. The shaft is slightly off center because all the ball bearings are missing and that caused it to seize. So we're going to take this apart, show you what the components inside the alternator look like and how the alternator works, now that we know how this one failed. I'm going to start by taking this pulley off. This nut will hold this pulley on. It's not a press fit or anything. It's just hit by friction. All right, pull that pulley off. There's a little washer behind that nut. The pulley itself, a spacer, and the fan assembly. Now this fan just generates enough air movement to pull air into the alternator to keep the windings of the alternator cool. Now, there's another bearing here that also can fail. This bearing is basically the same as the rear sealed bearing. No maintenance really required. I'll come around to the back here. This is our terminal for the battery cable. All right, we're going to leave that where it is. And this is our connector that drives the alternator, that basically commands it from the computer or through the charging system sense, cause more output or less output depending on system demands. So we'll keep taking this apart. We're going to pop this little cover off here. And the alternator generally is not serviceable internally. There's not a whole lot that you can replace inside the alternator, but it's good to know how it works and what the components are and what can fail. Years ago, you used to be able to rebuild these, but I don't think anybody sells the parts to do this anymore. So right here, we have 3 winding connections from the inside of the alternator. We're going to get to that in a minute. If we were going to take this apart to put it back together, I'd have to get a soldering iron out and desolder these connections so I could pull this apart. But we're not going to be too concerned about putting it back together. We're just going to show you how it works. I'm going to take the case apart. I'm going to see if we can pop this case apart here. There it is. Yep, pulled the whole armature out with it. And there go our ball bearings. They just came out. So we can see on the end here, the internal cage of the bearing where the little ball bearings ride, and that came out with it. The front half of the case is actually a press fit to the shaft on this model, but there's some play in that bearing also, so this bearing was likely to fail soon also. So this rotor here, or armature, all right, there is a winding in here, an electrical winding. This part makes contact with 2 brushes in the rear of the alternator case. All right, power is generated by basically a magnetic field that spins inside of another electrical winding. So when those 2 electrical windings create a magnetic field, opposite fields, through that magnetism, it creates alternating current. You can see here the different directions that these halves of the rotor are pointing. The alternator actually generates alternating current, just like what's in your house. It's not usable in a car. The cars run on direct current, which is DC voltage. So this will generate alternating current. That's why they call it an alternator. Alternating current is then converted in the back of the alternator here through this rectifier bridge. We're going to get to that next. Since I'm not worried about reusing this alternator, I'm just going to cut these windings. All right, and then we're going to try to remove this from the housing itself. I'm probably going to have to give it a couple of taps to free it. We're going to try to pry this off here. There we go. All right. And this magnetic field or magnetic winding here, electrical winding, you see the 3 different windings in here. When this is electrified, it creates a magnetic field. When against this magnetic field, all right, the 2 of them are opposing, and that opposing polarity will create the alternating current. All right. Now, where these 3 windings attach inside the alternator, take this little plastic shield out. This is a little insulator that they put in here. Now, I'm not too worried about how this is going to go back together because we're not reusing this alternator. We can't get the parts to fix it, and it's already been replaced. So I'm not too concerned with getting it back together, but I do want to keep it intact to show you how it's assembled and how it goes back. So in here, the back of the case of the alternator, these are our brushes. All right, I'm going to put these back in so you can see where they go. So you can see where the screwdriver is are those 2 brushes. All right, those 2 brushes ride against the end of the armature, the rotor, and it's basically powered by this terminal. All right, and what will happen is as that power flows through it, it generates more power by creating that magnetic field. And then it comes back through the other winding. As it comes through that other winding, through these 3 wires that we clipped, goes into this rectifier bridge or diode trio. I'm going to pull that out. We're going to look at that and show you what that's made up of. All right, so the rectifier bridge, we're going to take that out along with our brush holder. Now, the back side of the case, our battery terminal is connected right to the output of the voltage regulator. All right, so now that we have this apart, we'll get a better look at the brush holder and the rectifier bridge, which you may have also heard a term, the diode trio, rectifier bridge, all pretty much the same thing. So here's our brush holder, all right, spring-loaded brushes. There's actually a little hole there. If you were to rebuild these, you put a little paper clip or a pin in there to hold that in place while you assemble the alternator. This is our voltage regulator. This is our connector on the outside of the alternator that has our exciter terminal on it, which basically stimulates the alternator to create more current or let more current flow through. And then the diode trio or rectifier bridge, this converts your alternating current to direct current. And the way that it does that is with a series of diodes. Diodes are one-way valves for electricity. Alternating current is just that. It alternates up and down from positive to negative, big swings. The diode trio evens that out, lets it go up but not down. And it controls that by using that one-way valve that's built into the diode to not let the voltage dip down and come back the other way. It only lets power flow in one direction, converting it to DC voltage. And then that's got a little heat sink on there because these do get hot. So what happens with these diode trios, A method of failure for the alternator that's pretty common is one of the diodes can go bad, overheat, and let voltage leak in both directions. And what that does is it causes AC current to bleed into the electrical system, causes all kinds of electrical interference. You can get things like bizarre codes, bizarre activity from different sensors and things like that because there's alternating current bleeding into the vehicle. Now, at low amounts, it's not really harmful, more of a nuisance. It sets ghost codes and things like that. But at higher amounts, higher voltages, larger leak, you can actually damage some sensitive electronics in the car. So it's pretty important to test your alternator regularly and make sure that it's working correctly. The voltage regulator can also fail. One of the ways that a voltage regulator can fail is that it can actually not allow voltage to pass through at a high enough rate or current, or it may allow too much charging current to flow through. So if you have, let's say, a current or a charging voltage of 14.5 volts, that's pretty normal. That's actually considered normal. But if you're around 15, 16, 17 volts, this voltage regulator is not doing its job and it's allowing it to charge at too high of a rate. If you're still at battery voltage, let's say you're running, you have your headlights on, your wipers, your air conditioning, things like that, and you're only at about 12 volts, 12.5 volts, then this voltage regulator is probably not letting enough current through. So the voltage regulator inside the alternator can fail. Now again, it's not serviced separately. We can't replace any of these components. This is just to show you how it works. But the components that can fail in the alternator. Now the brushes themselves, they can wear out. That's high mileage vehicles, you'll see that. But these are actually pretty long and the spring is pretty stiff. So in order to wear these brushes out, we would have to have a ton of miles on this thing. And you can see this particular alternator came from a vehicle that had roughly 180,000 miles on it. I don't know if it was original, but it certainly looks like it's been around for a while. So this one failed because of that bearing. Had it not been for that bearing, I think that this was still charging normally. It gave no indication that it was going to fail other than that noise. So again, this winding, all right, can fail by overheating and shorting out. But you see these are pretty heavy windings. It's pretty hard to do that. Most of your failures are going to be related to this assembly here. The diode trio will leak AC voltage into the vehicle. The voltage regulator will allow too much or too little charging current to enter the vehicle. The brushes may wear out. Very rarely you can get a broken spring or a overheated spring that just kind of loses its tension and doesn't make good contact with the rotor of the alternator. Another common thing that happens is the back of the rotor where the brushes ride, that can wear out. But typically what we see in alternator failures is bearing failure, voltage regulator, or the diode trio or rectifier failure. That's usually what fails in an alternator. Of course, the alternator is controlled by the PCM in modern cars. So the PCM commands that alternator through this voltage regulator to do its job. And if there's a problem in the vehicle with its voltage sensing or a battery monitor system, or even the PCM itself or some wiring, you can have symptoms of a faulty alternator, but it can actually be something a little deeper. But we're going to now go to the vehicle and we're going to test the alternator and show you how to test it with the Volt Check Pro, get an accurate result from that alternator with that tool. All right, let's go out to the car now and check that. Okay, we're going to use our Ucanic Volt Check Pro now to test this alternator and see if our alternator output is where it needs to be. All right, we're going to connect it to the battery on our 2023 Escape here. Now the cool thing about this tool is I do not need to have access to the alternator. I just need access to the battery to test it. So our tool is going to power up. All right, there it is. We're going to use these arrows and we're going to go to charging. All right, we're going to hit OK. All right, and we see there that for this test, we're going to have to turn the headlights on and off for 3 seconds. And then the engine speed above 2,500 RPM for 3 seconds. All right, let's hit OK. I'm going to start the engine. All right, headlights on and off for 3 seconds. And then RPM for 2,500 for 3 seconds. All right, and we should have our results. There we go. Our loaded voltage, 12.28. No load voltage, 14.53. Our ripple, 2¼ volts. What is that ripple voltage? That ripple voltage is the difference in the DC current. So we have a little bit of AC current bleeding out. 2¼ volts is not unusual. That's actually pretty good. Usually anything under 3.5 volts, I would say, is normal. And our charging voltage is normal. So this alternator is actually okay. So we just checked it, a professional level test with our VoltCheck Pro. No issues with the charging system in this vehicle. I didn't suspect that there were. Everything was working okay. But we did have this at the dealership, and they did tell us that we needed a battery. And we have a video on the battery test also on our page. So check us out, the VoltCheck Pro, a great little tool, professional level testing, a very good price point, and also professional results. Check us out. We're Ukanic. You can do it, and we can help.